So I live down the street from the stadium, so I decided I'm gonna go watch the first half before I have to go to work and shoot, then edit out the highlights and put together my show on 11 Live. If you guys have never seen me, that's the channel that I'm on. Skateboard down the street, I ended up hitting a massive break between the two streets, fall off my skateboard, tear up my thumb. So I want to give a huge shout out to the people over there at Georgia Tech. The trainers on the field ended up helping me out, giving me a Band-Aid, making sure that it was disinfected, and I went on with my day. And for that reason, they won the game. Just the vibes were so high. First sellout in a long time versus an ACC foe at home on homecoming. You're undefeated into that game, coming in 7-0. Incredible vibes. The weather was great. And you're facing a Syracuse team that missing their starting quarterback and is, frisky. They got a win over Clemson earlier this year, just like you did. Of course, the quarterback is different now. But that was exactly the win that Georgia Tech needed. A dominant performance over a team that you have to beat at home. Syracuse has not been very good since Ricky Collins took over. I'm a really big fan of Fran Brown as a coach. I think he's a good dude. I think he treats those players well. He makes them work hard at Syracuse. I feel like that's kind of a tough ass to try and win over there. And he's doing, I think, a pretty good job. This would be the exact game that he would kind of fire you up and try and get guys ready to go. But first quarter, it was tied after the first quarter, tied at 3. Another slow start for Georgia Tech. They have had that issue before. They have had turnovers early in games, which is the whole reason that post-game head coach Brent Key did not say it was it was a complete performance from start to finish. Obviously, you're tied at 3 with Syracuse. But funny enough, it never felt like Syracuse had a beat on Georgia Tech. And I think that's so important. This team is starting to separate. They're starting to get better. They're starting and continuing to grow as a team. You have to win games like this and do it in dominating fashion. 41-16 at home in a game where it never felt close, even if it was tied at 3 after the first quarter. You hold on to that field goal after that turnover to start the game, you get 3 points out of it, but it felt like at any point Georgia Tech is going to move the football, get down the field, and win this game. It's the same kind of feeling that I had when I was on the field for the Virginia Tech game, where you can see a gap between the teams that are not as good and the team that's ranked in the top 10 in the country in Georgia Tech. And years past, especially based on Brent Key's record, those unranked teams would cause him problems for whatever reason. Very good against ranked ACC teams, struggled versus the unranked ACC teams. And I think the thing that has really changed is that Brent Key, obviously, he's preaching toughness and all those things. But I think what's really been the thing that has changed over the course of this season is the small things, the little details, the things that they're doing correct. They're not beating themselves. Maybe once. They'll start again and beat themselves. But it's not like Haynes Senior's throwing picks or they're fumbling the ball a whole lot. They take care of the football. They play soundly. Not a lot of penalties. They take advantage of other teams' mistakes. Even when they make mistakes, their defense has been shown to be good enough, especially against these teams that are not as good as theirs, to get stops. And it all helps when you got Haynes King on your roster. 25 of 31, 304 yards passing, ran 12 times for 91 yards, finished with 5 total touchdowns. Georgia Tech, 543 yards of offense, the most in an ACC conference game in 2 years. And to put into perspective, the first half, Syracuse finished with just 118 total yards in the first half. Tech, 28-17 on first downs. What a complete performance.